orgulloso de ser el esposo de Daniela.
I absolutely made the right decision. I know that no matter where we decide to live, our love for each other is more important than anything else.
Tú eres una persona egoísta, tú solo piensas en ti.
Get out of my house. I have done everything in this relationship to help you. You're angry because I'm not as rich as you thought I was.
That one didn't age quite so well.
Awesome! When you first saw the preview for the new season of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, were you as confused as I was? This preview for season 5 was posted on June 15th. That's just 18 days after the tell-all premiered for season 4 of The Other Way. That's not even a 3-week break between seasons. Did TLC just hate season 4 so much that they just tried again? If you think about it, none of the couples except Gabe and Isabel actually stayed together and stayed in the foreigner's country. Danielle did move the other way to the Dominican Republic, but on the tell-all, her and Yohan seemed to have broken up. Jen and Rishi ended things in India, and Jen returned to the US. With Chris and Jamie, well, Chris's neck and back never actually moved to Colombia, and Debbie barely made it a few days just visiting Morocco. We also know that Nicole was spotted in the US filming a new season of 90 Day Fiancé, so we know that they won't be a part of the Other Way spinoff anymore. So what, since only one couple really made it or stayed the other way, they just tried again? They might as well have just renamed season 4. Instead of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, they should have just called it Let's Just See How It Goes The Other Way. Whatever the reason was for premiering a new season so quickly, this preview they released got very confusing for me about halfway in. Because look who's back! Danielle and Yohan. You cannot imagine my shock when I saw them on here. I mean, they do seem as miserable as ever, but is this season just all about them breaking up? Because I made an entire video thinking that they already did. I even played Danielle, the world's smallest violin, when she got dumped on television. But broken up or not, they must be on some sort of TLC contract marathon. This will be their 3rd season of a show since 2022. Since they are back, in this video, I want to rewind to the beginning of their story. Because I recently rewatched their very first Love in Paradise season, and there are quite a few details that I missed initially. On a rewatch, they actually hinted about how bad Danielle's financial situation was early on, and her decision-making actually seems even more delusional than it already did. She is much more of a villain than I thought, which is pretty crazy. And after that, I will talk about where I think this story is going, and ultimately if they are together or not now. So kick back, relax, maybe grab a snack, or maybe turn up the volume on your headphones while you roll a coconut around your house. Whatever works for you. Because this is going to be a full breakdown of how Danielle and Yohan started their relationship on a pile of Danielle's lies. And it all started on Love in Paradise. We first met 42-year-old Danielle on season 2. And while rewatching her very first intro, her story actually makes much more sense now. Danielle mentions a key detail I didn't notice when this first aired.
I grew up Catholic, but I've recently become a student of the Ifa tradition. Most people think I'm totally crazy, but it really helps me find peace, especially when it comes to relationships.
This tradition that she follows is something that comes up a lot on their next season too. But this is the origin of Danielle beginning a pattern of using this tradition to try to solve all of her problems. And her biggest problem that you will see coming back around over and over again is accountability. This woman takes zero accountability for anything she does. And we see her do this now, before she even marries Yohan.
When I came to Ifa, I felt like I was going through a dark night of the soul. Like everything around me was collapsing. My relationships, my finances.
I'm going to play that last part again.
Like everything around me was collapsing. My relationships, my finances.
Did you hear that? She says her finances were collapsing. This is after they got engaged, but before they got married or even spent extended time together in person. We found out more recently that Danielle actually filed for bankruptcy in 2022. At this point in the season of Love in Paradise, she's getting ready to marry Yohan. And since these are filmed ahead of time, I don't think she had filed for bankruptcy yet. But she just confirmed that she knew she was in a bad place with her money. I think this brings new light to watching her try to marry Yohan so quickly. I mean, what do you do when you're about to file for bankruptcy? Instead of trying to take responsibility and figure it out, Danielle instead just goes on vacation to the Dominican Republic. And that is where she meets Yohan.
I was walking through the lobby of my hotel, and I saw the most beautiful man I had ever seen.
Yohan is 32 years old and worked at the resort Danielle was staying at.
Yo soy personal trainer, encargado de gimnasio.
They hit it off, and Danielle says that they instantly had a spiritual connection. So when she went home, she decided to go back and visit him again only a month later.
When I went back, Yohan got on one knee and proposed to me. And I said yes.
Again, this is all going on while her debt is just piling up in the US. I'm guessing though that Danielle just realized that she had found her way out of her financial trouble in the US because her relationship with Yohan gets serious fast. I remember watching this when it aired and thinking, why is this woman with a career in a successful business wanting to quickly marry someone she doesn't know? And now it makes way more sense. She's marrying a younger guy she'd only spent 2 weeks in person with to escape her debt. And only 5 months after they had met, Danielle gets ready to travel back to the Dominican Republic again, but this time to get married. Here's the thing, I do think that she is attracted to Yohan, but this fast pace is not just about some spiritual connection she claimed to have with him. This is about her plan to escape the responsibility of her bad choices in the US. I think this because she had told no one about this upcoming wedding, not even her closest friends. And when she finally does tell them, their reaction is total shock.
I think we're getting married next week.
No. Wait, no, next week. Okay, so I know that.
And it gets even more awkward from there because she also says she's trying to have a baby.
Wait.
No.
Not one person in the room thinks that any of this is a good idea, and these are people that know her well. Danielle also has a 21-year-old son named Thomas. He does stand-up comedy and has actually made some jokes about his mom being on the show. So at this point, we know that Danielle is having some serious financial trouble and is basically trying to restart her life in the Dominican Republic. She's trying to marry and have a baby with someone she barely knows. And now with this knowledge we have of the money issues, I feel like Danielle is trying to escape into a fantasy that doesn't actually exist. And she thinks she's found this attractive younger guy to run away with who will do whatever she wants. I think this because of how she talks about Yohan. It's all about how he looks. And, well, his size.
Yohan's penis is the size of my arm. Literally. It really is. I'm not even making that up.
I don't hear her talk about his personality much at all, besides the fact that he is sweet. But she does bring up a concern she has that he could be using her for money.
Right after I came home from my first trip, when I first met him, he went and got a tattoo. He got a $ sign on his arm.
Which is not only ironic, but if it is true, it also shows that Yohan really doesn't know Danielle's situation at all. From his perspective, Yohan has met an older woman who he thinks can take care of him financially. She must have given him the impression that she has success and money in some way. Because when she returned from the Dominican Republic after the first trip, he got a $ sign tattooed on his arm and then proposed to her when she came back a month later. We have all seen the couples where one person just really wants a green card. But in this case, we don't know yet what their plans are after they get married. But the $ sign tattoo makes me think that Yohan really had no clue that Danielle was swimming in debt. When Danielle does arrive in the Dominican Republic for them to get married, Yohan initially gives off a pretty laid-back personality. He seems to just go along with what Danielle does, even if he doesn't necessarily agree with it.
Cuando yo me enteré por primera vez de la religión de Daniela, yo pensé que ella era una bruja.
But when Danielle finds out that she has a low chance of having a baby naturally, she starts up her coping mechanism again of doing rituals to fix all of her problems.
Offering fruit and flowers to the river is the same thing as throwing a penny into a wishing well. You're asking the universe for what you want.
And as much as Yohan says he supports whatever she does, we start to notice that he does have some real expectations in their relationship.
I really could kill you.
What's happening?
Yohan ate $200 worth of peanuts.
Yohan hit up the minibar and Danielle is pissed. But instead of saying, hey, I can't really afford $200 in peanuts, she just again turns to another ritual to deal with the issue.
Babe.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of good communication between these two when it comes to resolving problems. I do give Danielle some credit because she does speak some Spanish, but we start to notice that this couple hasn't even talked about some very important details, even when they are only a few days away from getting married. Like, where do they plan to live?
Viviendo en los Estados Unidos, yo pienso que puedo realizar mi sueño y tener un futuro.
As much as Yohan says he wants to live in the US, Danielle says they agreed to live in the Dominican Republic. Yohan says he wants to live in both places so he can support his family, but he doesn't really push back very hard in the discussion. It isn't until they have a couples therapy session that Yohan's real intentions become clear.
I made it really clear to Yohan that I wanted to leave New York so that I could move to the Dominican Republic and be with him. And now he's acting like I never said that. So it's upsetting to me that he wants something so different now.
Living in the US to make more money is much more important to Yohan than Danielle thought. How much of an ego do you have to not see this? I do believe that maybe Yohan didn't speak up about this initially, but come on, Danielle. What they should have done at this point is take a step back and not rush into getting married. They're just now getting to know each other.
So he's saying that if you have a doubt about this, then maybe you shouldn't be getting married.
The big twist here at the end of their Love in Paradise season is that Danielle says she can't promise any of the things that she originally promised, and they still get married. But I had to rewatch this specific scene a few times. And the more I rewatched it, the more I realized that Danielle is actually lying in this scene.
Yo no sé dónde vives. Yo no sé con un bebé, sin bebé, pero ahora quiero ti.
Danielle had massive debts piling up in the US at this point, and her saying that she doesn't know where they will live is giving false hope that she will bring him to the US. Her also saying that she doesn't know if they will have a baby is also giving false hope. Her chances are very low naturally, and there's no way that she can afford fertility treatments in the US at least. I haven't heard her mention her money problems once, which is why she can't do either of those things, and that's very deceptive. She says that her rush to marry Yohan was because they are trying to have a baby, but it's really because she wants to escape her financial issues in the US. Some could argue that she is just in denial, but her attitude on their season of The Other Way will say otherwise, trust me. And for those that don't feel bad for Yohan, I'm not saying that you should. Obviously, we have found out that this guy has a goal of going to the US, but we know his intentions, and really Danielle should have known his intentions from the beginning. He does say that he is okay with whatever happens, and they do go through with getting married, but he is getting deceived with her not telling him about her debt and giving him false hope. I mean, I don't feel bad for him per se, but at least Danielle knows what his intentions are. He really doesn't know how much she is about to gaslight him either. And when we see them on season 4 of The Other Way, her gaslighting is starting before she even gets to the Dominican Republic.
You're fantasizing about this life you're going to have in DR. How are you going to afford it?
I'm gonna manifest it.
Danielle's I don't know answer for them to go to the US is now a solid no. And she makes all these decisions on her own without her husband even knowing she has made them, including quitting her job and just hoping all of this magically works out because she's manifesting it too. She even tells her friends that she is not applying for his visa to come to the US. And Yohan has no clue. He's even studying his English, thinking they are still going to New York at some point. He doesn't even know that Danielle decided to move to the Dominican Republic permanently.
I have to somehow explain to Yohan that we're never going to New York. We have a lot to do.
¿Cómo?
And that reveal does not go well.
Ese es uno de mis sueños y Daniela viene y me está dañando mi sueño.
Danielle, the Dream Destroyer, is running away from her debt in the US, but life outside of the resorts in the Dominican Republic is a lot different than she expects.
No estamos en tu país.
And she realizes that Yohan is not going to make money like she wants him to with his side businesses in the DR. We get to witness firsthand how much she really expects this guy to step up and take care of her.
Tú necesitas hacer las cosas. Tú estás mi esposa.
Could I bankroll our future forever? Yes. Do I want to? Absolutely not. I have no desire to support a grown-ass man for the rest of my life.
The statement that she can support them forever is dumb. She filed for bankruptcy, so I think she probably needs him to make more money so they can survive. But she also doesn't want to work anymore and have him make all of the money, which is completely unrealistic. She married this guy knowing that that wasn't possible for him in the DR. And she's also refusing to take him to the US where he could maybe make more money. Her plan to move away where she thinks the grass is greener was a bad plan, and it's not working out. And tensions start to rise. Yohan looks like he is done with Danielle, and she hasn't even moved to him yet. And while all of us know that Danielle knew from the beginning that she can't give Yohan anything that he wants, we are watching him slowly realize this and check out. And when she does finally move to the Dominican Republic, it's all downhill from there.
Big Ed the Bee wants to remind you to subscribe to this channel. If you don't, he will fly into your house and body shame you.
It makes no sense to go to the gym and then go to 7-Eleven and eat nachos.
Well, Danielle did it. She escaped her debt from the US and moved to the Dominican Republic. But this couple can't stop arguing when she arrives. And Danielle throws in an unnecessary hurdle for them when her ex-boyfriend comes to town. Yohan wants nothing to do with her ex Talon, and Danielle is not okay with that.
He is unwilling to even sit down and have a conversation with my ex, it's not the kind of relationship I want to have.
So this woman got what she wanted. She now lives in another country away from her debt. And Yohan got none of what he wanted. But now Danielle is demanding that Yohan meets her ex, and he finally says a straight up no to something. And she can't take that no for an answer. After everything we have witnessed and reviewed in this video, this makes Danielle look like an even bigger asshole than before. Yes, Danielle, you are the asshole. And this gets even worse because instead of just saying that she will consider her husband's feelings and not hang out with her ex, she turns back to her rituals and rolls a coconut around her house instead.
Baba, my spiritual mentor, gave me a ritual that might help bring some peace into my home.
This coconut is supposed to create peace. But it's absolutely wild to me how much this woman disrupts her own peace. She's always trying to do a ritual to fix something instead of just looking inward. It's so crazy. And these rituals are doing nothing for her. Instead of just apologizing, she even tries to throw Yohan a surprise party to make up for doing whatever the hell she wants all the time. But Yohan proves that he is no longer willing to just do whatever she wants anymore.
Quiere ver a tu amigo un día antes de mi cumpleaños. ¿Cómo tú crees que yo me siento? Dañaste mi cumpleaños.
No problema. Yo quiero ir, so yo necesito los llaves.
Tú puedes ir.
Still, somehow though, even this fight doesn't stop Danielle from continuing to do what she wants, because she still meets up with her ex Talon, and even convinces Yohan to meet him.
Quiero terminar de conocer a tu amigo.
But after being disrespected so many times, Yohan is checked out and ends up turning on Danielle when he does meet Talon.
Hombre con pene grande.
This scene is now even more satisfying to watch.
Ustedes, relación, ¿es un problema?
We watched Danielle lie and deceive this guy, thinking that he was a pushover. But then he finally pushed back, and continued to push back.
Ella siempre quiere tener la razón y siempre quiere hacer la cosa a su manera.
When the tell-all airs too, we see how done Yohan really is. They show the clip of Danielle talking to her ex about Yohan, and Yohan loses it.
Cuando se termina el contrato, ella coge su lado y yo el mío. Pero ya no quiero estar con Daniel. Ya no tengo el mismo amor que sentía por ella.
I remember when I first saw this, I thought it was brutal. I mean, he was breaking up with her on television. But now after seeing how deceptive Danielle was even before they got married, I think she deserves it. She was lying from the very beginning. And then she still demeaned this guy, even though he accepted that she could not give him what she promised. The weird part about the end of this was that Danielle didn't seem very fazed and pretty much just said they needed therapy.
We need someone to help us work through it, and I'm hoping that I can convince him.
But I was so sure that they were broken up at this point. Obviously, I was wrong, because here we are again watching them on a new season of The Other Way. I'm thinking that this new season was filmed back to back with the last one, because it looks like Danielle is still in the Dominican Republic. They are still having the same arguments in the clip for next week.
I have done everything in this relationship to help you. You're angry because I'm not as rich as you thought I was.
But on social media, the current status of the relationship has been unsure. One post made it seem like they were at least getting along, but then it looked like she was back in New York. Someone also sent me this from Reddit, so I don't think that they are together. Really, how could they be? Yohan seemed so done with Danielle, and Danielle is not going to change. Even though we saw a preview of them in this new season coming up, episode 1 did not have Danielle and Yohan in it. We just had a preview that showed them arguing in episode 2. But after everything that you've seen in this video, what do you think about this couple now? When I first watched Danielle and Yohan on Love in Paradise, I did not see Danielle as horrible like I did later on. I just thought she was this free spirit going wherever her crystals were telling her to go. But rewatching Love in Paradise gave me a clearer picture of who she really is. It took a rewatch to see how calculated she really was from the start. Her true goal was to go to the Dominican Republic and start her life over. And I don't think it mattered who she met in the DR. This was more about her escaping than falling in love. She hid behind her rituals, when really they were her attempt to fix problems she was causing by herself. The rituals were just a way to keep her from having to be accountable. It's funny how I thought originally that Yohan was the one using her. And he was. But she was using him too, thinking he wouldn't fight back. And when she pretty much won and still got her way, she kept pushing until he had finally had enough. To me, this couple is doomed. And this new season will just be us watching it all fall apart. The real question is what TLC will decide to do with their story now. Since they both probably need money now, I'm guessing they will do what they can to stay on the show. Let me know what you think, and if this video has given you a new perspective on Danielle and Yohan or not. Because the real story is that Danielle was lying from the beginning. And overall, all we can do now is see how this new season plays out for them. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye!